Welcome to Earth is Waking Up. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson. Today we've got a great special guest, Heather Kristian Strang. Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. So Heather Kristian Strang is a best-selling author and spiritual guide. She's written 8 books, including her recent book, Love Now, Your Daily Dose of Love and Miracles, and her spiritual romance, The Quest series, endorsed by New York Times best-selling author Gabrielle Bernstein. She's been featured on Bustle, The Huffington Post, Elephant Journal, Thrive Global, Elite Daily, and many more. Kristian has also facilitated metaphysical healings, trainings, and meditations for thousands of women, couples, and families worldwide. She currently supports women in living their most spirit-led, love-fueled, abundant life in body, mind, and spirit. Thank you for being on the show and welcome, Kristian.
I'm so excited we get to have this conversation. It's a long time coming, so thank you so much for having me.
Very much. So long. I keep wanting to just call you Heather.
back in the day when I was.
Yes. Oh man. So I have loved following you and hearing and seeing your updates. Everything is just so high vibe and inspiring for all of us that are on a spiritual journey, a spiritual quest in our lives, and learning to step into more of who we are, living a more authentic and spirit-led life, and getting our own, doing our own unlearning, clearing all that stuff out of the way that's been holding us back, and stepping more into a spiritual leader role, if you will. I'm super honored to have you on, and would love to hear more about how you got into this, because I think we've got some kind of similar backgrounds growing up. And we've had to work through a lot to let go of some of that and become more of who we're meant to be.
100%. I mean, I really feel like now at this stage in my development and my growth that we're, you and I are here, and all those watching and listening are here because we're here to wake up out of the matrix, so to speak, while still in our bodies, right? So that wasn't really something that was happening a lot thousands and thousands of years ago. We have like these great masters that were able to do it, but it's now time for more of us to be able to wake up while in these physical bodies. So it's been a progression for me, and I'll share a little bit for folks that are maybe new to me. I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian religion called Jehovah's Witnesses. I was very inspired by the connection to the divine, but was not inspired by the man-made construct, which really represses femininity and sexuality and authentic expression and all of those things. And so I was able to finally break free when I was 24. And that was like a huge deal because I lost my whole family, my whole community. And really that was the beginning of my freedom. That's really when I began to read Joseph Campbell and to read Eckhart Tolle and to just, start to question everything that I had been programmed to believe. And there was a lot, and it was very, very fear-based. And so I started that journey, and then at 28 had a health crisis, which is, a great way to wake up. That really will snap you into making the changes that I just wasn't getting to, and so that really opened up my whole journey and led me on this incredible unfolding. And I've written about it in my books. I had a psychic surgery, and then this healing energy started coming out of my hands. And then I started knowing things that I hadn't known before. And I really wanted to understand that. So I deep dived into quantum physics and studying that and energy. And I began meditating every day. I've been meditating every day since 2008, and just wanting to understand, we're in this body. What are we doing here? And why? And these crazy things happen. And what is that about? And I was healed by someone praying over me. How is that possible? I just wanted to understand it all. And it took me on this really deep journey. And then, of course, as you know, Jeremy, as you have these experiences, you want to share it with others. I was just like, I have to tell everyone, like, this is Matrix. We're here to wake up out of it, like, heal our trauma. This is a good thing, like, death is nothing to be afraid of. It was just like, I wanted to tell everyone. And then I was sort of shocked when they weren't all thrilled to hear it. But really excited for folks like you and the folks that I work with that get it and are like, yes, tell me more. Let's go deeper. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So what does it even mean to be spirit led? It takes, well, and it takes a while to get there too, right? Can you just kind of talk a little about that?
Yeah, and so I got really sick. I had like a tumor on my ovary. It was like a whole thing, and I was really upset about it because I felt like I was a really healthy person. So I was like, this shouldn't be happening to me. And I realized, that my life was not working. I was living my life at age 28, by my programs, of course. And so I had this moment where I was just sitting there, talking to God, really talking, I didn't know, the universe. And I just said, I want to be spirit led. I'd never heard that word before. I had no idea where it came from. It just came out of my mouth. And I was like, I don't even know what I believe fully yet because I'm still coming out of the religion. Spirit led, I don't know what that means, but that's really been the journey I've been on since then. And when I say spirit led, in the early days, I thought it meant being led by your connection to your spirit guides. That's what I originally thought that it meant. And then as I've developed and spiritually matured, I realized that it's the spirit within the self. So your higher self, letting yourself be spirit led is letting yourself be led by your spirit. And of course, we all have spirit guides and angels. Every human does. That's part of the deal being on this plane of consciousness or in this matrix. But it's really allowing our spirit, our true self, our higher self to guide us forward. And when that part of ourself is guiding us forward, we're not living by the usual rules. We're not living in a third dimensional construct. The rules that apply for others don't apply to us because we're working with a different frequency, because we're allowing our true authentic self to guide us forward. And so the work that I do is really supporting those called and living a spirit-led life, because it is the most extraordinary, magical, miraculous, incredible way to live. And I believe it's the key to waking up out of the matrix while still in our bodies.
Yes, and that totally reminds me of something else. Some more of your work is in the transitioning from living in the 3D world into 5D living. You want to talk at all about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's the process we're in right now. So from what's been shared with me, the earth is already vibrating in the 5th dimensional frequency. So we've been in that process. She's completed that. She's in the 5th dimension in terms of her frequency. Now it's our job to meet her there and to be able to partner with the earth to live in that higher frequency. So what we're seeing is
or suffer as we resist that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So right, we have two options. We can work with her or we can suffer and struggle. And so we're seeing a lot of the suffering and struggle and the crumbling happening in the 3rd dimensional aspects and even the 4th dimensional aspects. And that's okay. That's just part of what has to play out. Our role as souls is to connect to our higher self, our spirit, allow that to guide us forward. And that allows us to vibrate in the frequency of the 5th dimension or higher, right? So, I mean, there are certainly folks who have walked this plane that were, in the 11th dimension. There's certainly folks now who are in 7th and 8th and are around. And I don't want to get too hung up there, right? Because we can kind of, as the humans, get into this hierarchical thing, and that's not the purpose. The purpose is the 5th dimension is about love and unity. And so how can we unify with our spirit? How can we unify our soul and our spirit? How can we unify with the earth and work with her? How can we collaborate with each other and support each other, humans helping humans and sharing and giving and receiving, so that we're living in the prosperous, love-fueled spiritual experience that we're here to have, but in a physical manner.
Yeah, we're in this physical form for a reason. So, a lot of people think that, oh, I just want to ascend. I just want to get out of this physical mess, right? But we still
only we're that easy.
Chop wood, carry water, right? Experience the divine and embrace the physical living that we're in, right?
That's right, because it's no accident or mistake that we're in this physical body. Like, our spirit chose this, wanted to have this experience, and we do a disservice to ourselves and to the divine within us and around us and to the earth when we're like, I don't want to be here. Or we spend all our time floating on a cloud. We're here to be in the physical plane and bring that connection to our spirit into physical form and create, right? So for me, I create books. I create what you can create anything, right? You can create a physical structure. I love to cook and bake, and we're meant to bring our connection to the divine into the physical form. That's why we're in these bodies,
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important point, and thank you for bringing that up, because often folks on the spiritual path are just like, they just want to, oh, I just want to return to the creator, and and they just want to meditate all day. And I get it. I love meditating so much, and I would love to do that. And we came for the full experience, and we do a disservice to ourselves and to those who will be inspired by our creations, or those who will benefit from our creations, when we don't follow that.
Yeah, and I think that we got here, we're taught how to live in the 3D world, which is important because that's kind of our foundation.
Totally.
And then as we learn and grow and follow our intuitive spiritual guidance as it comes in, when we're learning how to find and discover our own truths and our own path, that we could start to get more on that path of ascension from 3D into the being able to integrate and become more of a multi-dimensional being, right?
Exactly. And that's so important. Like, nothing's gone wrong here. I think it can be easy from a human construct to be like, oh, the 3D is bad, or, whatever. It's like, it's all part of the path. Like, this is a good thing. Like, we needed to start there, and we needed to grow and evolve. That's important. It's important for us to be able to see, oh yeah, just addressing life from a physical only perspective doesn't work. Oh yeah, just addressing life from the psychological perspective doesn't work. Oh, I need all the components. I need the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual all together to have a fulfilling experience. And that's, so nothing's going wrong here. This is exactly how we knew it would be. It's what we wanted to experience. And it's sort of like our job to get in alignment with that, right? So that we can really ride the wave and enjoy the process while we're also growing and healing. And that's not always enjoyable, but that's part of the deal. We came for all of it, not just like, oh, I only want to, experience one emotion. No, when we incarnated into these bodies, we wanted the full experience, especially those of us that incarnated during this time, which is, in my opinion, one of the most incredible times to be in a body. It's the most transformational time we've ever been in. This next decade is revolutionary. So it's like, it's no accident we're here.
Yeah, especially for those of us that have awakened enough to step into service to the world, service to humanity, to awaken all of our brothers and sisters.
Amen. And like, the awakening that is happening for us is what allows the awakening to happen for more. So I really encourage folks who are, spiritual guides and leaders and healers to remember that your spiritual awakening is the number one priority, because that is what creates a ripple effect. I know for me as a woman and being more of a caretaker, in the early days of doing my work, I made it all about like, oh, I have to help these people, and it's like, who are these people? They're extensions of me, and so I have to help myself. I have to make sure that I'm really in the highest alignment that I can be, in the highest frequency, the highest vibration. Only then can I be of true service. So I think it's so important to remember that healing ourselves is so fundamental to allowing the earth to do what she needs to do, and allowing the collective to do what they need to do.
For sure. I think in multiple ways, by setting the example, but then also by not hiding our light under a rock, but by shining it and sharing it, gives others permission. Oh, hey, it's okay to do that. Okay, yeah, I think I've got some of that too. Let me shine my light too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because in a third dimensional, like physical only construct, there's a hierarchy of like, these people are here and these people are here. And like, that's not true at all. So you're exactly right. When we have the courage to speak our truth and shine our light in only the unique way that we can, we then inspire and encourage others to be able to do that as well, and feel empowered to do that, because we're all in this together. No one's better, no one's worse. It really is like about each of us feeling empowered to step into who we really are. And you're right, when you can look around and see other people doing it, it's like, oh, I can do this too.
Yeah, so that's a great point. Is so how can we start working on that transition for those of us that are awakening, whether we're in the beginning and just curious and trying to check things out, or even like well into our awakening journey, what are some of the things that we can do to be more spirit-led, high vibe, love-fueled? What what can we do in our power?
Yeah, I love that question. So, and thank you, Jeremy, because it's really important that we ground it into practice, because we can talk about this stuff all day long and get really high off of that. But it's really important that we manifest it and ground it into reality, into physical reality. And so the first thing I would say to answer your question is to bring it into a daily spiritual practice, whatever that looks like for folks. I recommend prayer and meditation as just like, baseline, start there. And make yourself available to living spirit led. I just had that moment of, where my spirit flowed through and said, I want to be spirit led. I didn't know what that meant. I had to then go on the journey to discover that. But I encourage everyone who feels a resonance with it to do a prayer, do a meditation, and say, I want to be spirit led. Please allow my higher self, my spirit, to guide my life forward and let it flow with crystal clear clarity. And anything else you want to add there, and just really make that affirmation that you are ready to be spirit led. You're ready to allow your higher self, your spirit, to guide you forward in this life. So that's the first step. Make that proclamation and then follow it up with daily practice. And I recommend just 11 minutes of meditation a day. That's all you need. And put on some music. I love, there's 432 hertz, 528, that's cellular repair. 432 is healing music. You can just go on YouTube, find, a healing, put your timer on for 11 minutes and just sit. I recommend don't cross your arms and legs because we're electrical. So you want to let the energy just be able to flow down your body without interruption. So feet on the ground, sit in a chair. You don't have to do anything crazy. Palms up on your legs and close your eyes and just listen to the music for 11 minutes. And your mind might go places. It's okay. You don't have to control it. Just be with it. Just be present with the music, and do that every day after making your desire known that you wish to be spirit led, and then pray every day to whatever higher power resonates for you. There's no wrong way to do this. So to your higher self, pray to your higher self, to your guides, whatever feels right to you, and ask them to lead you. Ask to have the next step shown to you so that you can be free. And this is really the prayer that I would encourage everyone to utter and to welcome into their life, to be free. Let me be free, financially free, spiritually free, emotionally free. Let me be free. Because that's what wants to happen, right? The freedom to happen through the physical body. Before we had to leave the body to get to that freedom, we can do this in the physical body. And so we've been receiving a lot of amazing upgrades through the earth and the cosmos supporting us so that we can be more light than matter, so that we can be less dense, so we can hold these higher dimensions of consciousness within these bodies. So the meditation practice is like the most deeply healing thing that you can do for yourself. And start with 11 minutes. And if you can do more, cool. If not, okay. Just consistency is key. Every day, it's like working out. It builds the muscle. And a lot of times folks will say to me, well, I want to be able to meditate and do what you do. And I talk about, like, when I meditate now, it's like plugging in. And then I just get the information. I've been meditating every day since 2008, and I spent about 5 years meditating for like 2 hours a day. I'm not saying everyone has to do that. I'm just saying it's okay if it's not like plugging in the minute you start meditating. It's okay. It just takes time, and everyone's different, and don't judge it. Just meditate every day and your life will change.
Yeah. So some people have like spontaneous awakenings where all of a sudden, they'll have these tall beings show up in the room and start downloading them with information, and but it doesn't happen like that for all of us. And I know that you work with the JOGs, so you've kind of got your own team up there. And did they show up right away, or is that something that came through daily practice?
Yeah, great question. So it came through daily practice. I didn't have that. I didn't like wake up and have beings standing in front of me giving me guidance. That didn't happen for me, but it does happen. And there'll be more of that in this decade than there has been, because the earth is at a frequency that will allow for that. So that's really cool. But for me, it took time. So I started meditating every day in 2008. I didn't meet my spirit team till 2013. Wow. And they came to me in meditation and revealed themselves, and I called them the JOGs. They're 5 ascended masters. And then in the last 3 years, Mother Mary came on my team, Mary Magdalene came on my team, like Archangel Michael, you know, so different people. Buddha just came on my team in the last year. So it just, Gautama Buddha. So it just takes time to see, like, was the team always there? Yes. Could I receive them all at once? No. And so it took several years before I even knew the 5 ascended masters that are working with me. And then a few years later, found out a couple other people joining, you know, like, and then it just gets revealed to you. So I think one of the things that can happen for spiritual seekers or folks on the path is if their story or their spiritual experience doesn't look like someone else's, they like give up, or they think they're doing something wrong, or they judge themselves. And none of that is true. Everyone's going to have their unique journey. And it's really about you showing up repeatedly for your spirit that will make the difference.
Yeah, they get the message, they realize, oh, this person's serious. Okay, yeah, they're consistent. Oh, okay, maybe it's
exactly.
time.
Exactly.
I think also it's not just them responding, it's also us raising our vibe, our frequency enough to where we can receive those responses.
100%. You're 100% correct. And that's why the daily meditation, that's what it'll do. It'll just keep allowing your vibration to raise and raise and raise. And right, I couldn't receive them until I was at a certain level. And like Buddha just came in, so I don't know what happened, but like, okay, I'm ready now for that piece, right? So we'll get the pieces as we need them. We'll connect to the energies and the guides as we need them. And so it really is about our daily practice. And you speak to something that's really important, is that it also works like that with following our guidance. You know, if we receive guidance, if we get a hit to like do something that's out of our comfort zone, or we receive guidance from a wise teacher in our life and we don't follow it, the message is, oh, well, she's not that serious. Okay. If we follow it, oh, she's really paying attention. She's really interested. She's backing up her desire to be spirit-led with action. I mean, I can't tell you how many things I've had to do that are so outside my comfort zone, but I was more committed to spiritual enlightenment, becoming who I really am, than I was to keeping myself comfortable. So I was willing to follow the guidance from my mentors, from my own relationship with my guides and my higher self. So I really encourage folks, I see this happen all the time. It's happened in my own life. Follow the guidance. Just follow the guidance, because you will always benefit from following the guidance, always. And if you don't, it's not as great.
Any tips on building that trust in our guidance, our intuition, those little inklings we get?
Follow them. So they'll start light on you. Your higher self, your spirit team, they're going to start light on you. They'll give you little things just to see, okay, is she ready? She's saying she's ready, but is she really ready? And so just follow them. It's going to seem weird. It's going to seem strange. It's not going to make sense. It will never make sense at the time. I have to tell you, it won't ever make sense at the time. It's only on the other end that you'll be like, oh, that makes so much sense. Now I understand why they had me do that, or why that came in. Just follow it. I had a friend of mine who would receive guidance through his dream state. And that's how his guides, would communicate with him. And then one time he had a dream and he was asked to do something that he was too afraid to do. And he didn't do it. He didn't have another dream for 6 months.
Oh no.
Spirit doesn't play. Spirit doesn't play. So that was when he shared that story with me, I was like, oh, I feel that, because I see it happen in my clients' lives. They don't follow guidance, and then what happens to their life, or in my own life when I haven't followed guidance, and I'm just like, why didn't I just do what they asked? So just lean into it, So sometimes folks will get guidance like move across the country or move, and that seems like, oh my God, that seems too big. Just start leaning into it. Just start imagining it in your mind. Start to connect to the energy. Check out the place online. Go visit. Just start to lean into the guidance. And when it is for you, the doors will just start opening.
Yeah. The more in alignment we are with our soul purpose, the more in alignment we are, the more those doors just open up and show up when we don't expect. Whoa, oh, here we go.
Exactly. And that's why I say, what works in the third dimension for folks who are in that focus, it doesn't work for us. So we have to be willing to just keep leaning in, because then it's extraordinary. Then it's just blows your mind what's possible.
keep being open to relearning new ways, because what we learned when we were young, even though it worked for so long, it doesn't necessarily still work anymore.
You're 100% correct. What worked then, which was perfect for us then, does not work now. And that's okay. And that's a good thing because we need to grow. So it's right on time. We just have to be willing. I hear a lot of, I don't feel safe, right? I don't feel safe to do this. And it's like, I get it. And developing that trust in the divine and in your spirit requires you to show up consistently for it and just keep leaning in gently, and it'll build that trust. And sometimes you're going to have to take a leap. I had to just I've had to leap so many times, of just okay, I'm sick and I don't know what to do. Go to Brazil and have people pray over me. Okay, I have no money, but okay, but I did it because I was just I'm so committed to the cause, and the cause is yourself. The cause is your soul.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I've been learning too that if we don't stretch ourselves, we want to just stay comfortable. And then it gets tougher and tougher and tougher to learn and take our lives to the next level. I don't know, do you have any other examples that pop out around people that have learned to stretch in those ways, like you went to Brazil? Curious about just hearing some more examples.
Yeah.
You or your clients?
Yeah, I think, oh, okay. So I actually do. I have a client example. So I had a client and she was in the middle of the United States, and the guidance was for her to go to Hawaii. And she was just I am willing. And she went, and her business exploded, and she started dating when she wasn't meeting men before. And everything in her life, she wrote a book, everything just went to the next level because she was willing to take that leap. And I have had clients, and I was just talking with my husband about this. I've had clients in their 50s, and really not their 50s, in their 60s, and they'll get guidance like that and they won't follow it because it's a big leap to make. And when you're in your 60s and you've had the momentum building, it gets scary.
Yeah.
So they won't make the leap, and then they're missing out on all the amazingness that wants to come to them. She made the leap. She had this incredible unfolding. I woke up one morning in my home in Portland, Oregon, and the guidance was go to the coast. I was like, okay, I love the coast, but I'm never going to meet a partner there, and I can't run my business there, and I don't want to live there, just yet. I thought I'd go there when I got older. I did not think that I would go in my 30s.
Yeah.
And so this was some time ago.
I was curious too. Why is she leaving town?
I literally walk into the last house I look at, and I start crying. The house is too big for me. It doesn't have an ocean view, which is what I thought I wanted. It has a river view. It's a block from the ocean. I love this house like I've never loved anything in my life. Okay. And so I had to take the leap, and I was terrified. It was way out of my price range. I was like, I can't do this. And I went to bed that night saying, there's no way I'm buying this house. And the minute my head hit the pillow, my guide said, you're buying the house. And I was like, I'm scared. And they're like, you're doing it. And I did it. It's the most amazing house I've ever had. And I left Portland, and that was really tough because I love Portland so much. Best gift I ever gave myself. So I'm talking about moving there. There's so many examples of people taking the leap with relationships. I ended up meeting my husband, who lived an hour from me on the coast. And I thought, oh, I can't date on the coast. I'll never be able to meet my person there. Not true. So a lot of times I hear that from folks. So I don't want to move into a smaller community because I won't be able to meet my person. If you're receiving divine guidance, you got to go. Everything that you want is waiting for you.
Yeah, all those extra magical gifts show up when we can follow that guidance.
That's right.
All those surprises that we wouldn't have been open to otherwise.
You just can't know how amazing your life is meant to be. You don't know. And you won't know if you don't follow the guidance. That's what I've learned. Because I had this idea of what my life would look like and what it should be like. And it's so much better because I got out of the way. And anytime I get in the way and I start trying to control it, or my career should look like this, or my relationship should look like this, or my spiritual practice should look like this, whatever it is I'm trying to control, I tamp it down. I can't have the magical, extraordinary life when I'm trying to control it. And that's why it's surrendering to your spirit, surrendering to your higher self. Let that guide you. Don't force, don't try to take action every day, do not get in the way of yourself. And we get in the way of ourselves when we don't honor that little voice and we don't honor the guidance we receive.
Yeah. Wow. I might have already answered this, but I guess I'm curious just how, so many of us want to be the change in the world, like Gandhi said, to be the change that you want to be in the world. But how can we, any nuggets around actually putting that into practice and living that, being and living that change, like putting it into action in all ways.
It's kind of romantic, right? Like, oh, be the change, it's so beautiful. Like we get sort of romanticized with these amazing teachers' concepts, and sometimes we forget to live them. And there's a gap there, and I think that's so important for us to go, wait, am I really being the change? Am I really, like, we have to get honest with ourselves. And it's really easy to talk about things and think about things and, write about things. It's more difficult to put it into practice. And yet that is the very assignment that we have. And so one of the things I really recommend is self-honesty. Like, it's so important to love ourselves so we don't take it as criticism when we see like, oh, there's a gap here between what I'm saying and what I'm doing. And then we've got to immediately bridge that gap. And so one of the ways that we can do that is having wise men and women on our support team. So I call it an entourage that I believe my team says, everyone is the movie star in their movie, and movie stars have entourages. And so you have a non-physical entourage, which is your guides and angels of the highest light. You also need a physical entourage. You need wise women and men on your team to remind you of who you really are, to help you course correct, to help show you when there's those gaps in your consciousness, like, okay, honey, you're saying that you want to do this, but you're not actually doing it, or actually you're working against it. We need that because we're so close to ourselves and so attached to our stories about ourselves. We need those wise people around us that we really trust, that we really have a soul resonance with, that can reflect that back to us. And so that's been so fundamental to my journey because I had such a strong ego built up. I had such a traumatic childhood that you have to build up defense mechanisms to survive that experience, right? But what that hurts you as an adult, because then you can't see yourself clearly, you're maybe overly defensive about things, you're being led by programs as opposed to your authentic self and not even noticing it. So I had to bring on wise women onto my team, and it has been everything. And it's helped me get through my dark nights of the soul, my next level spiritual awakenings. It's helped me attract a healthy partner. I was like the queen of karmic relationships prior to meeting my husband. And I had to work with my wise women and be like, I'm making no decisions unless I have my wise women's full support. And I had 3. And I would literally take every scenario of who I was dating to them and be like, okay, because I knew I could not trust myself in that area. I had too much wounding, too much programming around it. Allowed me to have the best relationship I've ever had in my life. So when we want to have radical transformation, we cannot rely on just ourselves to do that. So we have our spirit team, but they can't even reveal to us what we're not willing to receive because we have the corpus callosum, our ego mind, that's filtering that shit out. So we have to have those wise women and men. And I recommend having at least 3, and that they each have a different specialty, right? So I have my spiritual counselor, I have my body talk practitioner, and I have my astrologer, an evolutionary astrologer. And so those are my 3 wise women. I don't do anything major without their support. I make sure that I'm consistently having sessions with them. So that helps me stay clear. It helps me see my blocks that I won't see on my own. It allows me to stay spirit-led. Now, here's the really important thing. They have to be soul resonant. These have to be women and men that you really trust. They've got my back. So that when my mentors give me tough love, I'm not falling apart in a puddle on the floor because I know they've got me and I need to be called up and I need to hear this. And my spirit team does that with me too. They'll be like, girl, this is what you need to do. And my wise women do that for me too. And I need that. We all need that. So that's really important to be the change. You've got to have your entourage in place so that you're staying in alignment with walking your talk.
Super important, our environment. So it's important that we raise our own vibe by consistent effort and the meditations and so forth, and that our environment tends to reflect our internal environment, but it also supports it. So when our external environment is tearing us down, it's going to be really hard to keep ourselves high vibe. And so it's important to work on the inner and on the outer, shifting it to support us in our work and what we're doing and the direction we're heading, to have that team of wise support.
Absolutely. And the thing I hear most from folks is like, oh, I can't afford that, or it's too much money or whatever. And you got to get over that. You got to do your money work. You call in the money for the people, right? So it costs a certain amount to work with your wise woman. I tell the story of how to attract my partner that I'm now with, the healthiest relationship of my life. I spent like 5 times what I would normally spend on a mentor because she was the best and I knew I needed it. So you call in the money. Money is energy. This is not hard. We got to let go of this story that like we don't have money or it's hard to get money. And I work with folks a lot on this, and we're continuing for 2020 and going into this decade. This financial freedom piece is really up for us. So we can let go of all these bullshit stories about money. We're divine beings. We are rich. So it's, and we get to give and receive with each other and share and invite with each other. We can let go of the old forms of commerce where it's transactional and it's one above the other. It's all nonsense. So if money is a thing, which often is a thing for folks, you got to make a dedicated effort to get over that and call in the money, and the money will come, and then you get the support you need, and you stop making that the barrier to you living your spirit-led life, because money is not real. It's in this construct because that's what they've decided in this matrix that we have. You can use your connection to spirit and alchemical connections to get above and beyond all of that.
Yeah. Now, what would you say to people that are on a fixed income that feel like they can't bring in any more money?
Yeah, I don't believe that. So I don't believe in fixed income. So because every human is a multimillionaire, they've just forgotten. Yeah. And so start to pray and ask for your financial freedom. Money does not have to, we don't have to work for our money. This is the other thing, like the negative construct or the construct in the third dimension is you have to work hard to make money. But money is an energy. It's not even a real thing. We just give it value. Like, that's not true. You work for source. You work for your higher self. Anything and everything that's meant to be yours can come to you through your alignment with your higher self. And so there's no such thing as a fixed income. There's no such thing as you don't have the money. Those are just barriers within you and around you that need to be transcended, but it's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So now, what about spiritual entrepreneurs or people that maybe are doing Reiki or some other type of healing that have this idea that, well, if I'm going to be serving and helping people, I can't make too much money. Can you bust that myth for us?
Yeah. So, gosh, this is such a big package that I want to just like tell everyone about. So I'll try to like keep it succinct. So commerce is a third dimensional concept. And commerce is, I give you this, you give me this, I'm above you, you're below me, right? It's like a very, and folks in commerce use commerce and money to abuse other people and to oppress them and all of that. So when you're doing spiritual work, what will often come up is, I don't want to be a part of that. And we say, of course, you should not be a part of that. But that doesn't mean you can't receive money. That doesn't mean you can't receive prosperity. Everything that's happening, there has to be an exchange, but it's not a hierarchical exchange. It's not a power exchange. It's an exchange of giving and receiving. So I'm gifting to you, Jeremy, I'm going to gift to you $100, and you're going to gift to me your wisdom. So it's a giving and a receiving. It's no longer about taking and having and overpowering. That's third dimensional. In the fifth dimensional space, it's all giving and receiving. I'm giving my gifts, you're giving your gifts. So now we tried the barter system, and that's something that for some folks really works. So you find the way you want to have that exchange, but you need to have exchange. You need to have that. And in the construct we're in, money, gold, silver, those are the currencies. But we have to get out of this storyline that it's like, if I'm doing spiritual work, then I shouldn't be taking money. You're not taking, you're giving, they're giving. So there's giving and receiving happening. So we've got to change our consciousness around it. It's totally natural to not want to be a part of that third dimensional structure. It's not natural to live in poverty. So if you're living in poverty or you're not having enough prosperity, you've got work to do. You've got emotional, spiritual, karmic work to do so that you can live in prosperity. And then you can give your gifts and just have a donation, or give your gifts and they bake you cookies. That's fine. But you've got to get your channel aligned so that prosperity can come to you. I've had so many clients I've worked with, they get huge windfalls of money out of nowhere, inheritances they weren't expecting, contest winnings they weren't expecting. Money can come to you, wealth can come to you from anywhere. So I encourage folks to begin to pray for financial freedom, to begin to open themselves up to be led to what their financial freedom is about, and get wise and get smart about the matrix that you're in and the way that it all works so that you can rise above it and do it better.
Yeah, it reminds me of the gifting economy concept that, you know,
Yes.
taking our commerce to the next level.
Yes. And those were like all the rage for a while, and then it just didn't quite pan out. So it's like we need to take it to like the next level. And I'm excited. I think that's really what we're going to be doing in 2020, in this new decade.
Yeah. I think it takes some time because we do still live amongst a lot of people that are still very entrenched in the 3D living.
Yes.
And so we're still working on bridging that gap and hopefully bringing them up. We'll see. We're all doing our inner work and our shifts in the ways that support us. Will be helping transition that in the longer term, whether we see it clearly or not, or through our experience. So what about, I think we'll have some entrepreneurs listening in. What, I guess I'm curious what you might have to say around bringing more consciousness, more light, more high vibe, more intentional, or more love into their business, or even in the corporate world for people that are still working in corporate. How can we kind of bring that in without feeling like we're being beat up or told that it's wrong, or all of those?
I'm sorry, Jeremy, it cut out just a little bit there.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay.
What was the last part of the question? I missed that.
So how can we bring that change, that love, into the business that we're working in, or the corporation if we're working in a bigger corporation? Any ideas or strategies around that where we're not getting in too much trouble or being made fun of too much, or?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think that is like a whole storyline too. We have to just like, if they're making fun of us, we're probably doing it right. Like if third dimensional folks are giving us a hard time or judging us, then we're probably on track. Yeah, so there's that. And I would say to pray over the company you work for every day before you go in, and to have like high level matrix work done on, I just had a client specifically on the matrix of the department that she's in, and completely helped, smooth out some of the bumps that were happening there. We can use our metaphysical tools and our alchemical tools and rituals to bless where we're working. If you're an entrepreneur, bless your client base, bless your email list, whatever it is. And then the next piece is to do your attachment work, your emotional work, your inner child work, because that all gets mixed up in business and in work. And so the more that you can be free of that, of those wounds, the more that your work will flow and be of benefit and have the impact that it's meant to have. I think there's also a storyline that you're not successful if you're not reaching, 1 million people, or if you don't have certain numbers, and all of that is nonsense, because we're in a third dimensional matrix. It's only going to support folks who are carrying a third dimensional frequency. So if you're carrying a higher frequency, you're not necessarily going to be getting a lot of love from the mainstream. because it's not a vibrational match. So that means you're doing a good job. So just like really recognizing that you're already a big deal, and like you don't need a certain amount of likes or followers or email list or whatever to prove that. In fact, those are third dimensional constructs. So the folks, you know, if you're really in a higher vibrational state, you're not going to have that, because it's a different, you're working in a different construct. So it's really important for spiritual entrepreneurs to remember that, that their money doesn't have to just come from the services they give. The money can come from all different directions, and to keep doing their trauma work and their emotional work and their attachment work on their money stories and their recognition stories and their success stories. All of that gets tangled up. So pray over your people, pray over your company, do alchemical metaphysical work over them, and then also keep doing that inner work, because that will allow you to have a lot of movement come.
Great, great. So much wisdom. Yeah, it takes time to learn this stuff. It's
Tell me about it. Yeah.
It's not something that we're just cracked open and all of a sudden there it is, unless like we're someone like Eckhart Tolle or
yeah.
you know, or Buddha.
Who had a walk-in, right? He had a walk-in, so he had help. He totally had like an angel come in and just take over. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, like being gentle with ourselves is important. Like I've been meditating every day. I've been asking the questions. I have moments where I think, oh, I got this. I totally understand how all this works. And then even more is revealed, you know? So it's like, this is an amazing journey, and we just get to keep supporting each other and sharing with each other and giving and receiving with each other, so that we can continue to evolve and be who we really are while in these bodies, which is the greatest gift that we can give ourselves and give to the whole.
Yeah, I just had an epiphany around it's that evolving, as you were saying it, is like, yes, that 3D world model that we learned growing up that I remember learning was all about, okay, this is how everything is. That's it. Okay. Now anything that differs, we got to try and bring it back.
Exactly.
And shifting from that is not super easy and doesn't happen overnight usually, into learning how to know our direction that we're going in life, spirit led, and working that direction, and then allowing those things to shift and adjust as our frequency rises, because it keeps changing.
Yes. You're nailing it. Yes, it's 100% yes. So it's a third dimensional construct to think like things are always going to stay the same. They are 100% not going to stay the same. One of the first healings I ever had, the woman said to me, your guides want you to know, get used to change. Like the truth changes, the understanding changes, it just keeps expanding. And the higher our frequency, the clearer our understanding. So beautifully said, Jeremy. Thank you.
Sure. Wow. I'm not sure what else we need to ask on this interview, other than if there's any other tidbits of wisdom you'd like to share before we close.
Mm-hmm. I want to say to all those watching and listening, don't give up. Don't give up. We need you. Shit goes wrong, shit goes sideways. We know it happens. Don't give up. We need you here. We need your gifts. Keep going deeper inside yourself. Anytime you feel like giving up, just go deeper inside yourself. Get the wise woman, get the wise man, bring them on your team. Just keep going deeper. Just don't give up. It's so important to keep going. All of us. We've got to keep going. This matters. It matters more than we know. We're having a bigger impact than we understand. Just keep going. Don't give up. And I love you.
No wonder we vibe so much, resonate. Messengers of hope, love and hope is what we bring, and what we, wow. Thank you so much, Heather Kristian, for being on, for sharing this wisdom with us, with the listeners, and with all of the people that you work with everywhere. The articles you write, the books you write, all your clients. Just super honored to be on this journey with you.
Same. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for holding this summit and bringing this wisdom through and giving it a vehicle to come through. It's so needed and so important. And I just want to really honor you and your journey and being here with me. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Much love to you and all the listeners and the world. There is hope. Let's just keep finding that hope and keep creating it, being it, showing that example for the world. Thank you
Yeah,
so
keep
much.
going. Thank you. Mwah. Love to everyone.
Okay. I'm jumping back on because clearly we were so deep in the energies and the discussion that we forgot to tell you about her amazing gift, meditation for spirit-led business expansion for divine feminine leaders, which you could find at the link below. And you can also receive an added bonus, a free love meditation at risingupforlove.org/newsletter. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next interview.